we do. We're going to have 5 seconds before that gate will drop, and we'll be underway with the first Pirelli MXD Moto of the day. It's interesting to note, Todd, that this is such a tacky gate. These guys are getting tremendous grip.
We're waiting for that gate to drop. There we have it, off and racing for the Pirelli MXD Moto #1, and it's looking like possibly Jordan Hill or Mitchell Evans out in front early.
That was a huge jump for that Yamaha.
And it is Jordan Hill, second place Mitchell Evans, so the Yamaha Racing Team riders out front. Now they needed to work on those starts after the first round at Horsham. Scott Bishop, no doubt speaking to those boys about it. Connor Tierney in third, and it's looking like Caleb Barham in fourth, so the heavy hitters out front early.
I think Pozniak is behind Barham as well, so we have really got everyone we needed to see right now in the top 5. The Yamaha Racing crew definitely working on their starts during the week. Looks like Connor Tierney's struggling a little bit in that corner. There's Pozniak, there's Barham, as the rest of the field comes up this step-up section and spreads itself out. Definitely important to get good track position, and that's exactly what we see here out front for the 2 Yamaha riders, the 2 teammates on that Yamaha team. And Todd, Jarrett, does it change things when you have your teammate right behind you and you're out front?
Oh, absolutely. I know there'd be strict orders for these two to not take each other out. We've seen it in the pro ranks before. Hopefully these riders are both smart enough to work together to try and pull away from the rest of the field. Now, Jordan Hill, actually a rookie on this team this year. Mitchell Evans spent last year under the influence of Scott Bishop, under the guidance, I should say, of Scott Bishop. They're both out front now, and we spoke about it coming into this round. They're so far back in the points that they need to have brilliant performances, not just good. They need to be brilliant, because Connor Tierney is riding at such a level right now that lap time-wise, he was fast, but these guys coming through the field were fairly similar. So, as we spoke about, that start, so important. It'll be only time will tell, really, in this race if Connor Tierney is able to match their pace and possibly make a move.
It's a bit of a mistake there from Hill out front, but that's certainly right. So, you know, it's easy to have an average round and then work your way into it, but for these guys having such a disastrous round after really being early favourites in the championship, with Tierney having such a dominant round, they've got to really answer that right now and say, we're not going to let you run away with this championship. We're going to get in and we're going to race. And here we're seeing 2 laps in, and they've definitely answered the question, can they run with Tierney? They're starting to edge away just a little bit. So Connor's there, but you know, Connor Tierney's very experienced, second year in the class. I think, like we saw with Jake Moss earlier in MX2, he's going to let the moto come to him a little bit, see what these guys are doing, what lines they're taking. But Tierney's right there. Still got to get an ID on that 4th place rider there.
You're trying to spot them through at the moment, actually trying to grab a hold of that number. Quite difficult. I just want to quickly mention Jordan Hill currently, I believe, around 32 points in arrears from Connor Tierney overall, and Mitchell Evans even further back, 43 points behind. So they have a lot of ground to be made up now. We'll hopefully get a view of that 3rd and 4th place. Tierney in 3rd at the moment. We're trying to spot that 4th place rider. As our race leaders now move down into that off-cambered Husqvarna left-hand turn. Evans all over the rear wheel of his teammate Jordan Hill at the moment. There's Tierney in 3rd. It actually may be Justin Hart there in 4th position. I know Hart is renowned for having that Husqvarna gear that he wears, and it looked very much like that.
It does look like a uniform Husqvarna outfit. As we come down into the Thor VIP section, got all the important folks there at Thor getting their food and drink and watching the awesome action here from round 2 at Appin. As we just see Hill and Evans sort of sizing each other up. Looks like Evans is just being a little bit patient here, letting the race come to him. Seems to me, Todd, if you get on the gas early out of that corner, it's sort of pushing you wide, and Hill is on the top side of that section. He's going to make a run around the outside. Here we go. Can Evans, he just blows right around his teammate, Jordan Hill. So Evans takes the lead, and
sets him up well for that inside too there. He was able to, a lot of the time when riders make a move on the outside, they have to really quickly shift across to defend the line, but the line Evans used there before the finish line actually gave him the entry to that first left-hand turn. So that's Tierney there in 3rd. Now, I do believe it was Justin Hart in 4th position. We couldn't quite see that number there. 5th there, Caleb Barham. 6th, Cooper Pozniak. 7th place, we're not sure what that number was. There's Billy Harth in 8th. 9th, Zach Small. 10th coming through. 11th, Wade Kirkland. 12th,
Luca
13th.
Bella there,
yeah.
And there's the rest of the riders come through. Very spread out early on. Ryan Kenny coming through there. Angus Gelly.
Wyatt Fogarty in there as
Fogarty,
well.
A lot of the young Victorian guys with very poor starts. Track position so important here early, Todd, because them ruts really mean that when you have 3 or 4 bikes around you, it's impossible to run a decent speed on lap 1. You just have to get your elbows up, and pray no one falls into you, because those ruts are so difficult to traverse when you have 3 or 4 guys around you in every corner. As our cameras switch their attention to the Husqvarna rider, Connor Tierney. Tierney's looking solid here, Todd. Doesn't look like he wants to force anything early as he goes around the Alpine Star right-hander before the uphill double. He is, of course, on the Husqvarna factory racing team for this season. And for Tierney right now, I think taking a smart third in this moto probably isn't his priority, but at the same time, it's great points on the board. And in this mixed bag of very erratic and not consistent results, a third is as good as a win for the points leader.
Yeah, as we said, the 2 riders in front of him are quite a ways behind in the points. We are only 5.5 minutes through this 20-minute plus 1-lap moto, and he's beginning to close that gap now. On Jordan Hill in second position, he makes the move to the inside. Hill covers his line, as we spoke about, setting up for this left-hand turn here, the mxstore.com.au first turn. Now, as we said before, Caleb Barron picked up both of the whole shots 2 weeks ago at Horsham, so picking up those MX Store whole shot bills, the $100 checks. This weekend a little bit different with the Yamaha riders out in front.
And Jordan Hill grabbed that whole shot by about 100 feet on everybody else. I think he shifted gears and stood up before any. Oh, wow. Jordan Hill slams Connor Tierney. I don't know if that was intentional, Todd. I think their lines just came meshed together. As Tierney goes around the outside to the inside, and he repays the favor. Thank you very much. He's going to go to second. That
was the move of a very calculated rider. That was actually impressive for someone to make that kind of aggressive block move, that defensive move from Jordan Hill, and for Tierney to move straight back to the outside and remount that charge straight away. That was actually really impressive from Tierney. Now he's going to set his sights on Mitchell Evans, the rider many people spoke about as the guy to beat in this championship for 2016. So now we're going to see an outright race between Mitchell Evans, Connor Tierney, and Jordan Hill.
Yeah, Evans has got just enough of a lead where it's going to make life tough for Tierney. If he makes any mistakes, Tierney's going to drop back any further. The race is pretty much over here. But, as you said, Todd, we're only about 7 minutes in to this 20 plus 1 lap, so Tierney has plenty of time. We're going to see who's more, calculated, who can keep their concentration and lap times consistent, and who's fitter, because if these boys are going down to the wire, it's going to be a test of fitness here if they keep ticking off these fast laps. But I want to mention there with the battle we just saw with Tierney and Jordan Hill, a lot of these inside-outside lines lead to the same exit. It's the one fast exit point. Now, what that means in a battle is when you're sizing somebody up, if you have a run on the outside or the inside, you're going to end up at the same point of the exit, and that's where your bikes can collide. And famously, we saw that at Broadford last year between Cade Mosick and Dan Reardon, 2 ruts leading to 1. There was all sorts of bad things happening there. So it is a game of chess as far as how you pass riders in these ruts.
And the track changing each moto throughout. We've seen at the moment a few spots on the track with a little bit of dust coming up. The MXD riders were out a little bit later in qualifying this morning, so a little bit closer to what they saw when they went out. Now, as we said before, the top 3 riders at the moment in first, second and third are the 3 riders that qualified fastest. Now, we're trying to get a look at that number. It definitely is the 195 of Justin Hart. We spoke about it before, running that Husqvarna, that really bright gear. He's in a comfortable position at the moment for a rookie. The young Western Australian, he finished quite well at the Junior Nationals last year over in WA, and he's running up front at the moment.
A solid 6 overall at the first round with 9.7 moto scores. That's pretty consistent for a rookie. Riding that 2-stroke on the hard-pack Horsham ground, definitely not an easy task. And for Hart here, he's just having a pretty quiet moto, but there's nothing wrong with that. He's building a lot of racecraft and momentum here, Todd. And if he can hold on to 4th, maybe even he can mount a charge on Jordan Hill, he's pretty much by himself here. So that's awesome for Justin Hart to be able to get some track time, see the leaders. Can't say enough about how much that's going to build his momentum and confidence for this season.
And he was actually our 8th fastest qualifier. He was around 4 seconds off the pace, though, of Mitchell Evans, our current race leader and rider on screen. Now, Evans at the moment looking very smooth, and this is more of what we expected to see from the far north Queenslander. He spent quite a few years in those junior ranks, racking up and accumulating titles. For the most part, his closest competitor was actually Wilson Todd, who has been running up front, already taken a moto win in the Motul MX2 class. So for Evans, his junior rival, I would say, up in that class above him, he's really focusing on trying to lay claim to this class and obviously move up to the MX2 class in 2017.
I mean, for Evans, it's trying to emulate the same steps that Wilson Todd has too. Yamaha have this really great infrastructure where they sign riders early to their YAIM junior program. That in turn leads them to the Yamalube Yamaha MXD team, and then in turn that is the next step into where Wilson Todd just landed, which is the Serco Yamaha team, which is pretty much the pinnacle of the MX2 teams in the sport. So essentially for for Evans here, he has a predetermined route if he can win and go further on. It's all laid out there from Yamaha. It's for Evans, battling with Wilson Todd as a junior and moving up. He's pretty much laying claim to being the next guy for Yamaha to come through. And as you know in this sport, Todd, it's all about the next guy. Who's coming through? If you step up to MX2 and you don't do anything in your first year, maybe 2 years max, unfortunately, who's next? Because you didn't perform and there's someone coming through that will.
And that's what we speak about, Yamaha having such a solid program all the way through. Then they have other support teams, the likes of DPH Motorsports Yamaha that we now see Jed Beaton riding for. We have the Proformance Yamaha team that we have Cale Makem and Lockie Davis riding for. There's quite a few options that are changing around, with Yamaha throwing so much support into the Motul MX Nationals series. And we see there our race leader actually moving past the Yamaha Motor Insurance, one of our major sponsors, in the left-hand turn. Evans at the moment, as we said before, coming into that finishing line area. Connor Tierney sitting pretty close though. We just saw him jump into the background of the screen. Jordan Hill still in third at the moment.
Well, Tierney's definitely going to get a marker from his mechanic here that we are just past halfway in this moto. We've gone past the 10-minute mark. So for Tierney, if he's waiting for the race to come to him, now's the time he's going to drop the hammer and make the charge on Evans.
And as we just spoke about, moving into the halfway point, we'll take you to an ad break very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back with you in a few short moments.
Yeah, I'm really happy with my Pirelli tires. They work really good on the track in all conditions, in the hard pack, and the tires are just awesome on the track.
I choose Pirelli because I believe their success in Europe can also come over here to the USA. I hope to be a massive part of that.
I choose Pirelli because of their racing spirit. They're leaders in all types of motorsports, and motocross and supercross are no different.
Some of the best riders in the world who choose to use Pirelli tyres, one of our major sponsors for the 2016 Motul MX Nationals. Pirelli, the tyre of choice for many of these riders actually out there in the Pirelli MXD class. Now, Connor Tierney getting closer to Mitchell Evans now as we move past that halfway mark we just spoke about, beginning to apply the pressure actually.
Yeah, Tierney's definitely, like I said, I think, these riders are pretty calculated, Todd. Even in the Pirelli MXD class, they have a great awareness of what's going on in the race. And like I said, Tierney most likely has gotten that message from the crew, his pit board, saying, hey, we're halfway through. If you're letting the race come to you, now's the time where Tierney's going to drop the hammer. And like we saw in MX2, Evans is going to have that pressure that he led early. He didn't lead right away, but he definitely got into the lead in the first part of the race. So now for him, he's experiencing that pressure of being, pressured. And what can Tierney do from behind that's going to upset the momentum here? I think either way, Evans has got to take a top three. He needs that solid points. He needs a base, but mentally he doesn't want to let Connor Tierney get another moto win this early in the year.
And absolutely, Mitchell Evans' mechanic Corey Hilsey will be on that pit board at the moment, letting him know the gaps, and the exact same thing will be happening for Connor Tierney. His mechanic, Lachlan Court, this year actually making the move over, and he's been having his dad spin spanners for him for quite a few years. They've made the switch this year. I believe Connor Tierney also working quite a bit with Ryan Marmont actually for 2016, and everything seems to be paying off at the moment. The 17-year-old from Kalgoorlie in Western Australia. Actually, in 2015, he was the rider to really battle with Wilson Todd early on in the championship. He took 2 round wins, 3 race wins before he had that back issue that we spoke about at Horsham. The wheels kind of came off the train there.
Really derailed his momentum. He had a solid first few rounds of the season. I believe it was Murray Bridge. We really saw him have some awesome battles and get into it with Wilson Todd. But managing your year, managing your injuries, he's a year stronger, year older, year stronger, more experienced, as we see Cooper Pozniak coming through on screen, then Caleb Barham, so that's your top 5 coming through there. Then Wade Kirkland, he's made a serious charge through the field, Todd, because Kirkland was way back.
Yeah, the Tasmanian rider actually, as we spoke about on that Raceline Pirelli KDM machine, getting the support from Chris Woods this year, stepping up into the MXD class, having a solid ride. Now, he finished inside of the top 4. He actually finished second in the second moto at Horsham. and he was quite happy with that result. He just would have liked a better start in the first moto to give him that opportunity to run up front. Now, Kirkland's actually one of those riders who's got a little bit of an interesting background. He doesn't do any real off-bike training. He just rides his bike flat out. He does so many hours on that back bike back home in Scarmanna in Tasmania. And it's a bit interesting, as I said. It's a bit different to what you would usually see, but he's performing fairly well for a rookie at the moment. And Mitchell Evans out in front, Connor Tierney still in the background at the moment as they're about to make their way through a couple of lapped riders.
Yeah, we're about 15 and a half, 16 minutes in now, so the laps are definitely starting to wind down. So for Tierney here, you know, is he putting everything into this charge, or is he just sort of pressuring Evans and feeling him out, and then he's going to put a couple of laps charge on at the end? It's not a track, I would say, that pays to lead particularly early if you're close to speed with somebody. However, for Evans, you know, yourself, Todd, as a racer, if you continually see that number 7 behind you, but he's not making a run, he's not putting a wheel in, then you sort of start to get comfortable racing the track at this speed and go, okay, I've got him covered. So it's a solid ride here for Mitch Evans. I think he's starting to get confident with Tierney behind him. He's not too concerned anymore. But at this gap, Evans is one mistake away from Tierney being right back on him.
And those two separated, as we spoke about, getting closer to the end of the race at the moment. The Yamaha and the Husqvarna, they've separated themselves from Jordan Hill, who was out front early on, starting to fade a little bit late in the moto as they're going to make their way up and over the EBC Brakes tabletops in the center part of the track. Now, in terms of the way they're riding at the moment, Connor Tierney and Mitchell Evans, we spoke before about Caleb Ward spending so much time on the balls of his feet, really using almost like his legs as a second part of suspension for the bike. Is that something you think these guys could try to pick up on?
It's a very hard thing to learn and emulate. For Caleb Ward, he's been riding like that since I've seen him in juniors. I don't think that's something you can teach. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. You can teach that, but to adapt it early on and really make it your own, I think Caleb Ward picked that up instinctively, you know, talent, whatever you want to call it. That's how Wardy's really been able to make that work. For these riders, you know, they really need to study how them guys in the elite classes above them ride, their feet position, their body position, and how they can carry so much speed in the ruts. So it's something they can learn for sure.
And we see right now how big the gap is between first place Mitchell Evans, second Connor Tierney, and there we go back to third, Jordan Hill. Fourth place there, Justin Hart.
So Hart's making a run on Hill now.
Yeah. And we're still going to scan across and wait, hopefully for our fifth place rider to come through. There he is on the Newcastle KTM, Cooper Pozniak. We just missed through our sixth place rider there. So quite spread out now late in this moto, as we expect to see in the MXD class. Now, we didn't see Zach Small or Wade Kirkland come through in that panning shot. They're running and fourth and fifth in the championship. Wade Kirkland in fourth, Zach Small in fifth. Justin Hart will grab a few more points on those riders, and Caleb Barham actually outside of the top four at the moment.
I'm actually drawing a lot of comparisons between Justin Hart and Connor Tierney last year. You know, coming over from WA, two-stroke Husqvarna machine, you know, a little bit unknown as such. Like, people knew about him, but coming from WA, there's always that sort of question mark as to what they're going to be able to do on this side of the country. So I'm pretty impressed here with Justin Hart.
And we did see just there in the background, it was actually Tyler McCoy going a lap down. Now, Tyler was running seventh in the championship points, the rider we spoke about earlier on, spending quite a bit of time in America in the years past, so not exactly sure what's happened there for the Northern Territory rider.
It comes down to that consistency we spoke about earlier. It's like this class is just, you know, inherently being a development class for the series. They, you know, the mistakes and that youthful exuberance often gets riders into trouble, and unfortunately for McCoy, that's probably what we're seeing here, an early race crash or whatever it may have been that's halted his progress from a pretty solid first round.
And with eyes on Mitchell Evans at the moment, he's the rider we spoke about having that horrible first round. Now, actually, we couldn't find out what happened to Mitchell Evans during the broadcast of the first round at Horsham. We found out after the race that his chain was actually derailed in the first turn crash. He then had to go back into the mechanics area, get a fresh chain put on the bike, and then go around. So it took around 4 to 5 minutes for the Yamaha racing team to get that bike back together for Evans. He was only able to make his way through the field, I believe, up to 27th position. Yeah. So it was a bit of a mechanical freak accident there. Yeah,
for any of you riders at home that have had to fit a chain in a hurry, you know it's not an easy thing to do. It's not like even changing a tyre. And for that Yamaha team to even get out and get a new chain on his bike, for him to get some points, that's solid. But you know what else is solid here, Todd? He has really made a bit of a statement here. Connor Tierney has considerably dropped back with a few laps to go. So Evans has definitely answered the call from Tierney, and he's stamping, you know, not his authority, but I would say he's questioning Tierney's authority. He's sort of saying, yeah, I'm here to race this year. It's not going to be all you, buddy.
And Tierney at the moment coming through back down towards our Thor right-hand turn in the late stages of this moto. We'll be back with you guys in just a few moments as we have word from one of our series sponsors.
Yeah, I'm really happy with my Pirelli tires. They work really good on the track in all conditions, in the hard pack, and the tires are just awesome on the track.
I choose Pirelli because I believe their success in Europe can also come over here to the USA. I hope to be a massive part of that.
I choose Pirelli because of their racing spirit. They're leaders in all types of motorsports, and motocross and supercross are no different.
Mitchell Evans back on screen for anyone that's joining us now. Mitchell Evans has taken that lead from Jordan Hill quite a ways ago in this moto. Connor Tierney currently sitting in second position. Now this is the final lap for moto number 1 of the Pirelli MXD class, as Mitchell Evans negotiating his way around a lap rider there at the top end of the circuit. We see all of the spectators lining that knobby downhill section into the right-hand turn.
The luxury that Evans has here is because he sort of broke the back of that charge from Tierney. As you see him looking over his shoulder there. You know, had Tierney been right on him in this last lap and then the lap riders come into play, that changes everything as far as the leader goes. So for Evans, he rode smart, he was consistent where he needed to be, and he's broke the back of the challenge of guys behind him when he needed to. So he's really controlled this race from the front, which is no easy task in these really long, rutted, technical conditions. So it's a solid ride for Evans, Todd, and I really think this is going to give him a lot of confidence moving into the rest of this year.
And he's one of the few riders actually that are still completing high school. He's currently completing year 12. His family, both Kelly and Gavin Evans, have always had an emphasis on making sure they have that bit of a plan B. Mitch in year 12 at the moment, as we said, not getting to spend near as much time on the bike as some of his fellow competitors, but right now it's showing that whatever he's doing back home in terms of his training is paying off, because he now has only one turn to go. He'll come through the right-hand motor corner and collect the checkered flag to pick up his first race win of the 2016 Motul MX Nationals Championship in the Pirelli MXD class. Second place will now come through to our series points leader, Connor Tierney. We're going to wait through for our third place rider to come through. Earlier on, it was Jordan Hill, and there we see him funneling through. So third place to Jordan Hill on the Yamaha Racing Team. Fourth position there now to Justin Hart, and fifth will go to Cooper Posniak, as we'll have a few words from some of our championship partners.